Well, it appears this proposal of a European Super League, which poses an existential threat to football as we know it, is going ahead.
We're going to look at everything that we can do with the football authorities.
I mean, I'm a Manchester United fan and have been for 40 years of my life, but I'm disgusted, absolutely disgusted. Manchester United, 100 years, born out of workers around here, and they're breaking away into a league without competition.
Sky sources say that Manchester United's Executive Vice Chair Ed Woodward has resigned.
This is just the beginning. The supporters will not forgive the people who decided to go for this idea. They will not forgive them.
We've just heard from the Spotfiy chairman and chief executive. That is Daniel Ek. You'll all be very aware of who he is. He's been speaking to our colleagues at CNBC.
I've been an Arsenal fan since I was 8 years old. Arsenal is my team. I love the history, I love the players, and of course, I love the fans. So, as I look at that, I just see a tremendous opportunity to set a real vision for the club to bring it back to its glory.
Hello guys, welcome back to the Robbie Zini channel, reacting again to some news in the world of football. Seems to be something new every week at the moment, doesn't it? But this week it's Arsenal in the headlines. But first of all, I will introduce my guest, someone who I've known for a long while, but only up until today I've actually spoke to in person, believe it or not. Well, I guess you could say spoke to in person for the first time today. But debut on the channel, it's Arsenal fan Will, known on Twitch as J14willOfficial. I will be leaving a link of Will's Twitch in the description down below. Be sure to drop him a follow at the end of the video. But yeah, let's crack on with it. How are you though today, mate? You're right.
I'm very good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to talk about Arsenal, I suppose. Yeah,
yeah, in some kind of good and bad situation here, isn't it? Yeah, no, pleasure to have. Pleasure that you're on as well, mate, and taking up this opportunity. Thank you. So yeah, you. I've known you for a long while now. I'll you know that I might wrap that up in another story, another video, mate, one day. But we'll focus on the subject today, and this subject fits perfectly to you, Will, obviously being an Arsenal fan. Now, with the Super League disbanding last Tuesday night, it's safe to say it's caused pressure on some of the current jobs of some of the staff have at some of the top 6 football clubs, particularly one manager leaving. Arsenal are in the headlines this week for one particular reason, as the spotlight is on their owner, Stan Kroenke. It seems the pressure is on at the moment for the American owner, or is it, as it's said that Daniel Ek, co-owner of Spotfiy, is looking to buy the club with the assistance of Arsenal legends Thierry Henry, David Bergkamp and Patrick Vieira. More detail shortly to come with this. But Will, first question: what was your kind of first reaction when you saw this news come out?
I'll be honest, I thought it was fake. When I first heard it mentioned, I didn't think it was legit at all. I thought, oh no, it's just some Twitter bollocks. But the more obviously I've heard about it, I was interested, but probably a bit skeptical, because you hear rumours all the time with chairmans coming in. I think Newcastle's like a great example. It feels like every 2 months we hear that someone wants to take Newcastle over and nothing ever happens. And obviously Arsenal being such a big club, it's very unusual to hear about anyone interested in buying us. So at first I thought it was fake. I'm a little bit skeptical about it. I'm not quite sure where we're at with it at the moment, but it's pretty exciting. It's pretty cool to have something like this happen with Arsenal.
For sure, I think it is, and I'm even saying that as a Norwich fan. I think that just kind of shows the damage it's done on not just Arsenal fans but football fans in general, just to see a club like Arsenal with under the ownership of Kroenke. Yeah, before my reaction before even reading into this more, I thought it'd do the club great personally after it all goes through and the takeover is successful, if it does happen, of course. I feel like it would feel a rebrand that will go through Arsenal completely. Who is Daniel Ek? Well, I'll talk to him about more shortly into the video. But if you know, last Friday we saw that he expressed his love for the club, coming out on Twitter, saying about how he'd like to throw his hat into the ring and place a bid and try and take over. The guy is 38 years of age, Swedish billionaire. Let's throw this into perspective. If he's saying he's an Arsenal fan, 38 years he's been alive, living on this planet. Well, in those 38 years, he would have seen both the George Graham era and the Arsene Wenger era. He's seen the golden times at Arsenal Football Club. So surely if he buys the club, then the job will be taken more seriously this time by an owner like himself.
You'd imagine so, yeah. I myself, I missed the George Graham era, just a little bit younger than him. I did get the peak Wenger era growing up, and obviously I think most Arsenal fans who are old enough to know will know that time was fantastic for the club, and it was brilliant. And I hope that he is as genuine as he seems. Obviously it's difficult to tell with somebody like him. I don't know enough about him as a person. But if he has a love for the club and shares that love with the fans, then I think it can only be a good thing for the team. And it can only be a good thing for the club to have somebody there who clearly supports the team, clearly wants the team to succeed on the pitch, not just about the money. And I understand money is important to somebody like him still, but as long as his heart's in the right place, I'd be more than happy to welcome him to the club.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting that. I'm sure you're not alone as well. I've certainly seen on Twitter the trend of a lot of Arsenal fans thinking the same thing. For you as well, if we take away the Super League for a second, what's been the worst of the worst with Kroenke? What hasn't he done to make him to be perceived as a good owner with this football club?
Look, I think he took over as majority shareholder in 2011, and then 2018, a couple of years ago, he basically solely runs the club. I think what is the biggest issue, at least for myself, and I think for quite a lot of Arsenal fans, is the disconnect he has with the team. I think we, love them or hate them. You see the likes of Daniel Levy, Roman Abramovich, who they clearly have a personal interest in their teams, and they clearly go to the games. They're clearly involved with the squads. Whereas with Stan himself, being American, I don't know what he's like as a person, but I think he doesn't have that connection to kind of English football culture that you and I would have, that fans would have, or anyone who's grown up watching the sport would have. And I think it's obviously you can bring up other things. He's failed to invest within the squad. He never mentions the club either. I think normally when he's asked about his businesses, he brings up the teams that he owns in the US. I know he's got like an NFL team, an NBA team, I think a hockey team as well.
Yeah.
And I think the disconnect is the big thing. We just never hear from him, and we never see him. I think that could be hard when there's sort of this almost faceless owner behind the scenes.
Yeah, how I see this with Stanley Kroenke in terms of business is that he gets it done. What I mean by that is if there's something he wants, aka Arsenal, then he will get it. Greed, perhaps, without a doubt. But one spring afternoon, 2011, like you said, it's rumoured that he has advanced talks in completing this takeover at Arsenal. The next day, he's increased his shareholding percentage from 29.9% to 62.89%, buying both Danny Fisman and Lady Nina Bracewell-Smith's shares. The value of the club rockets up. They call him Silent Stan for a reason. He gets things completed for himself in business, but we rarely see any dealings completed by the club because in some way you can say this is not his highest interest. Instead, he sits back with his wife, achieves fanatic global takeover in companies. His wife, by the way, is Anne Walton Kroenke. She's heir to the Walmart company, massive in the US, of course. Estimated worth of Kroenke is $8.2 billion. For Anne Walton, it's actually higher at $8.9 billion. The amount of wealth they have together is unimaginable. And it poses my question for you, Will. Will we ever see the Kroenke ownership disband in the next couple of years? Or if they've got this much wealth, and also going by the fact that they're not wanting to sell the club, as we've seen recently?
Yeah, I think in terms of selling Arsenal, I think the honest answer is it is unlikely. As much as I'd love to drum up rumours about Daniel coming in and saving the day, like a knight in shining armour on the hillside, but Kroenke very famously likes to keep his investments, and in some ways you can't really blame him. You know, football clubs never. It's kind of well known that football clubs don't make you money. What makes you money is holding on for 10, 15 years. With inflation, the club's net worth goes up, and you sell it for more money. And he has been here for 9+ years now as majority shareholder, 10 years actually by now. And it doesn't feel like he's at the end of that road. However, if what Daniel Ek has said, and we have the quote today that he's put a compelling offer on the table, then maybe he can be tempted. But from what we've seen on the Arsenal supporters website, and just the general sort of aura around the ownership of the club, it doesn't look likely, which is a shame for a lot of Arsenal fans, but you never know. Yeah,
you're right. And excuse me, but overall here, it's like I said, and like you said, the club's not for sale. If Daniel Ek wishes to place an offer, he can, but the likelihood response from Kroenke, as I'd imagine, is him saying no chance, come back with a bigger offer, and you know, it would have to be £3 billion or so. Simon Jordan, ex Crystal Palace owner, said there is only one other way Kroenke could drop the value, and that's by the fans getting involved and getting their voices heard, putting all the pressure on him, Kroenke, and leading him to selling, and thereby dropping the value as the fan base starts to become aggressive at this point, and it makes the whole business become less appealing as a whole, which I'm sure you know that comes with people boycotting their own tickets and the club losing sale. Generally, it makes the club less appealing and the value would drop. The fans' involvement by making vows that they won't disclose their own personal income to the club until change in ownership are made, that kind of, you know, that may leave Kroenke having to sell up as it soon to become an impractical business. Arsenal, would this be an effective way doing this? And you know, we've already seen fans protesting outside the ground. Is there any bother continuing this?
I mean, firstly, I'm in full support of the protests. Yeah. I think it is important to let the club and Kroenke as well know how upset the fans are. You know, it's already been a strained relationship with the fans, and then the Super League stuff has just eroded that further. I mean, if I'm being honest, and it kills me to say it, but Arsenal have basically been a laughingstock for, certainly, I know longer, but certainly the last 3 years have been kind of the worst period, I think, that I've known from Arsenal in terms of performances on the pitch, which is obviously what most fans care about. And I think whether Stan Kroenke knows or even cares about it, but I think the players and the staff should know it. Mikel Arteta should know it, that Arsenal haven't been good enough, that Arsenal are getting the piss taken out of them by every other fan. I mean, I'm in, you know, you and I in a group chat together, I get a lot of shit in there. And Arsenal get a lot of shit in there. But, you know, the fact is he's an American billionaire with, as I said before, no real connection to the club, no real connection to the history or to the English game in general. And I think the sad reality of it is I don't think he gives a shit, which is a shame. And it wouldn't surprise me if he either tries to double down and just they dig their heels in, they just say, no, we're not selling, regardless of who comes in. Or what might be more likely is they'll just bury their heads in the sand, as he does a lot, and just let the storm pass, let fans grow tired of it, and go back to the way it was before.
Yeah, we do see that a lot from these American owners, especially obviously like John Henry put the message out, but it kind of felt forceful in a way, didn't it? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the John Henry video was one of the most sort of disingenuous videos I've ever seen. I'm not a Liverpool fan. Obviously, I'm against the Super League, but it was almost aggravating to watch. So I can't imagine what it's like as like a Liverpool fan watching that kind of video.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. I know he has to come out and be the one to say it, and I suppose there's a bit of credit due and stuff like that, but it just doesn't feel real. It feels like, again, these people across the world, even though he's on camera, he's a bit faceless, isn't he? He just doesn't feel like he's there and part of the club.
Yeah, and like you said, the group chat we've got, obviously, Mark's reaction, who is a Liverpool fan in the group, he was pretty much said the same thing. You know, he wasn't too pleased, even though it was a apologetic video. We'll talk more about Daniel Ek now. Swedish billionaire, of course. I got some insight about him from another Swedish person, Jens Nordstrom. He works for TV channel TV4 Sweden. He knows Daniel and says he likes to have a private life away from the media, persists on having seclusion. He has a lot of patience in his projects that he's worked on in the past too, obviously the biggest being Spotfiy. The interesting thing here, though, Will, he said he usually gets his own way in the end, a bit like Kroenke. Take his story with Google as an example of this. I only found out about this yesterday, but in his younger years, he applied for a job at Google. They rejected him and said he needs to go back to university, get his graduations, and then come back and get the job then. He said, sod that. I'll build my own search engine, and eventually down the line we see the beginning of Spotfiy, which I think is amazing. From what I get from all of this is that he has an obvious drive, and which has allowed him to create Spotfiy and destroy the trends of records and CDs, and that's massive. He did that, co-ownership obviously, but is this everything you expect from an owner at a football club, having determination and drive and eventually getting your own way in the end?
Yeah, I mean, determination and drive are what you would expect in, I think, any run-of-the-mill billionaire. Not that there probably are many run-of-the-mill billionaires, but they all have that. I think what you want in the context of football, and I think in particular the context of Arsenal, is ambition. You know, Arsenal are a huge club. I don't think it's outlandish statement to say that Arsenal are a massive club, and I think Arsenal have the potential to be among football's elite. I think we do, and I think we can be up there competing high up in the Champions League, provided we have an owner who comes in, regardless of investment, but at least has the ambition and the knowledge of the game to know where Arsenal need to be and up where Arsenal could definitely be. And I think that's what we've been missing for, 20 years now, is having that sort of owner come in and really know what they want to do with the club and really have an idea of what the future could be. So if he's got that, fantastic, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, his wealth is currently tied up in Spotfiy stock, and you know you can't sell this without risking the loss of control that he'd have at the company. But unless other investors come in supporting him and go with this joint takeover kind of thing, that could be a cause of it. Sticking with this potential venture, it's reported that Henry, Bergkamp and Vieira will be hand in hand helping Daniel complete the takeover as assistants. As much as I do think legends of clubs should participate more in the ownership of football clubs, will they be any use? Because I mean, I hate to say it, but they are just football players. Do you see them being any use?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, they have the name pool, and I think bringing those kind of players in who are, you could argue, certainly of the early 2000s and certainly since the 2000 really, they're arguably Arsenal's three sort of greatest players in that time. They have a lot of gravitas, they have a lot of name pool, and that gets fans interested. That's what got me interested. You hear about a takeover and you go, oh, okay, yeah, and then suddenly, oh my god, that Henry, Vieira and Bergkamp are on it, what's going on here? and that drags you in, and it might be a PR stunt though. I think that's what you have to look at on the other side. They might just be faces on this, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's difficult to say. But if they are there to assist him, they have a knowledge of the club that very few have, especially sort of the inner workings of how a football dressing room would work, how you can sort of use the behind the scenes to your advantage, especially if Daniel comes in and he's never worked with football teams before. I think their experience can be helpful, and I hope that he's sort of got a way to utilise them, I guess.
Yeah, you just touched up on with Daniel kind of being any use. I'll speak about that at the end. But the big picture here is Daniel Ek will have to sell his shares at Spotfiy to enable the ownership of Arsenal, and once he gains full ownership, he does have a group of disgruntled fans, obviously being from like you said, this poor period over Kroenke. These are only little remarks too about the guy, but he isn't following Arsenal on Twitter, and I believe he's been on Twitter ever since it started, and in that time he's only tweeted twice about the club. Now obviously these are only small remarks, like I said, but he's rejected interviews from the media in past too about relation with Spotfiy. Could Daniel Ek realistically become Kroenke Part 2, a custodian?
I think it's certainly a possibility. I think you take a risk with any owner coming into the club. I don't think Newcastle fans, I know I'm going back to them, but Newcastle fans probably wouldn't have been upset when Michael Ashley first stepped in. Might be the same with Tottenham fans and Daniel Levy. There's obviously a lot of ambition there, and you have hope for the future. And it may work that for the first couple of years it could be sunshine and rainbows. He pours money into the team, everyone's happy, Arsenal performing, and then he finds another passion project somewhere else, and suddenly his focus is directed elsewhere. It's really hard. I mean, I personally take the risk and let him in. Whether, as you said, he's quite a quiet person, maybe he just doesn't tweet about Arsenal, maybe I'm just trying to grasp at straws. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell whether he's just looking at it as a money venture or whether he does have genuine passion for the club.
Yeah, I'd go with that as well. It's hard to kind of tie up that balance at the moment, isn't it? And like you said as well, it's with Kroenke. Obviously, he has ownerships in all parts of sport. Through hockey, NFL, football clubs. They can obviously get that kind of trend of sitting back, can't they? And kind of letting everyone else do the work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what we need from Daniel really is, I know he's not on media, he's quite media shy. I think he still needs to come out and directly contact Arsenal fans himself. I think we need to hear, if he were to take over the club in theory, what are his plans for the first 5 years? What's he going to do? What does he improve behind the scenes? What does he do with the team? Obviously, we've just had COVID. It's been a very difficult time for every club financially. What are his plans to help the club in the future? And I think without knowing that, I think you can't truly trust the deal, and I mean, unless it goes through anyway. I think you need to hear from him and know what his intentions are with the club. Obviously, we would have known Kroenke's when he came in, and we can see them anyway. It's very obvious that he has little interest in the side. He doesn't really want to invest anything. What he's there for is to let it grow financially and sell it off for X amount of billions in a few years' time. So, yeah, hopefully the future's looking a bit better, but we'll see.
Yeah, you smacked the nail on the head there about Kroenke's kind of plan towards the end. And just wrapping this up, I really wish any top six club the best, and any club in any kind of area in down the football leagues the best in terms of giving back to the fans. It's proven in these last few weeks that they are the most important body in football. It's the ones who work week in, week out to get just enough money to go see their team play. In the end, the true reality is if Daniel Ek gets ownership of Arsenal Football Club, he'll have no idea or even experience on how to run a football club. Okay. But this isn't just any old club, a club who's seen, is seen as a top six side, a club who has a brilliant history and legacy. Daniel Ek is given the keys to this club. Fantastic for him, obviously, but we know you and the fans and they'll put the pressure on him as they hope for an instant change at the club. Whereas this may take obviously a few years down the line in some cases. Look how they were outside the Emirates protesting. It's extremely hard to run a football club, clearly even without knowing who Daniel Ek really is. I do fear for him, and I don't know the guy that much at all. Because I will say, when I was preparing the questions yesterday, it did come out of the evening that Kroenke wasn't preparing to sell. Only recently today it came out saying Daniel Ek is really mean in this, really mean in business. I think you've answered this already, but my final question was, and the big question, going by all of this, and just imagine yourself right now in Daniel Ek's shoes, an Arsenal fan who has wealth of your own already with your co-owned global, well-known company, which is Spotfiy. You're worth about $4.5 billion, but a large part of the money is tied up in shares with your own company. Do you gamble by selling some of your shares for in return to the keys of Arsenal Football Club to be declared as the new owner of the club?
Oh, that's such a hard question. I'd be so. The thing is, from my point of view, I think I love Arsenal too much. I think I don't think I could do it, and my reason for that is, if I mess it up, that's like my baby there. That's my team. That's like the love of my life, and I've gone out and ruined it. I couldn't do it. I don't think I'd have the bottle to do it. I'd go by like a mid-table club like Norwich. And
we'll take that. we'll easily have the fun, sir. Yeah.
I'm joking. I said if Arsenal joined the Super League, I'd be a Norwich fan anyway. So
yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that.
I don't think I could get away with it. No, unfortunately. Sorry to disappoint.
Oh man. No, yeah, it's and to be fair as well, it's obviously Daniel X already got something working well here. Spotify, the email. I haven't actually seen the email, but the email coming through about them increasing the membership fee. I haven't got a problem with that because I love using it, and I'm sure a lot of members of Spotify are the same. We will watch this story closely, of course. Thank you for coming on today, Will, mate. You stream on Twitch, so I will be leaving Will's channel in the description down below. Be sure to check that out. If you gotten this far, then thank you for watching this video today. Please also be sure to subscribe as well, as supporting the video comes to hand by liking. So be sure to hit that like button. More content coming up. Don't miss anything on this channel. Please do take care, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.